Good evening and welcome to the Symposium. I'm Diane, independent presidential candidate, and I'm going to be joined this evening by two other independent candidates, Geoff Young from Kentucky and Rob Ruszkowski from Georgia. And when I bring them on, we'll talk a little bit about some of the things going on in their states. Obviously, we are now in day, I forget how many days, 11 or something, of this outrageous Iran war, which people have called a war of choice, a war of aggression, an illegal war. And as I stressed before, having been a candidate for Congress, and both of my guests have been or are candidates, the Congress abdicated. They are responsible for declaring war or not. That's Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. And in the last week, a majority of both houses voted against invoking the War Powers Resolution, which means against upholding the Constitution. In my opinion, that means they all need to be out. If you're going to vote against doing the job that you're elected to do and sworn to do as a federal representative, then you should be out of office. And this war now, they are saying, has claimed the lives of 1,300 Iranians. Now I think we're up to 13 dead Americans, 6 today or yesterday died in a plane crash, a refueling jet, I believe, shot down over Iraq. They're trying to say they don't want to give Iran credit for having done that, so they're trying to say it was an accident or friendly fire. And of course, we had the atrocious crime called an accident of a U.S. Tomahawk missile striking a girls' school, killing about 178 girls from the age of 7 to 12 and 14 of their teachers. We are not hearing much about Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, and of course, Israel is getting quite badly damaged, but there is a complete blackout and censorship in Israel. I think I read somewhere that they're admitting 11 Israeli civilians have been killed, but I understand Tel Aviv is taking quite a beating. So I'm going to bring on my guests here, and hold on, let's see here. There are different pop-ups. Oh, there we go. There is Rob Ruszkowski, and a candidate. He just ran in Georgia in the special election, and I'd like to hear about that. And here's Geoffrey Young, who is running in Kentucky. And Geoff, are you running for state legislature now or federal? What are you running for? Oh, he's muted. Geoff, you're muted. We can't hear you. Geoff is
okay. Sorry, I unmuted.
Okay.
Yeah, I've run for the U.S. House of Representatives many times in Lexington, Kentucky, and for governor of Kentucky 3 times. This year, I'm scaling back and running for the Kentucky House of Representatives in the capital, Frankfort.
Great.
And I'm a member of a third party, which formed in 2024 called the Kentucky Party.
Wow. Great. Congratulations. And here's Anastasia Battle, who is my campaign manager and joining me this evening and visiting with me in New York. So Truth in Advertising, that's my wedding picture there behind her. Yes. So I actually thought I would start. I have a video I'd like to show, but before we get to that, I realized that both of you are in states where President Trump has declared war on somebody in the Congress. Now, in the case of Rob, that was Marjorie Taylor Greene, who left and finally said that it was the threats to her children that drove her out. Trump called her a traitor, which was pretty outrageous because she, as she said, she spent $2 million or something, she said, busted her rear end, appeared at rallies, campaigned for him, but she wanted to get to the bottom of the Epstein files, and she also did not like the idea of slaughtering children in Gaza. She called it genocide, and he started labeling her traitor, which I do think contributed to the threats. And then, of course, Geoff Young is in Kentucky, the state of Thomas Massey, where there's an AIPAC-backed super PAC with tens of millions of dollars. And I don't think Massey is doing that badly. But Rob, since you just had the special election on Tuesday, maybe you should go ahead and tell us a little bit of what your sense of things was. And do you really think this guy Fuller, who was that's his name, right? The Trump endorsed guy?
Clay Fuller.
Clay Fuller, they're crediting him with 35% of the vote. Mm-hmm. Given that Trump had such a low turnout for his events in the district there, what do you think? I mean, what are people really thinking there?
Oh, I'm not questioning any of the voting in the special. Because the district, when Marjorie Taylor Greene was running, she had about 65% of the vote, and the Democrat had about 35% of the vote last time. I think the numbers fit pretty well. A lot of Republicans, I think, they had a low turnout too, because there was so many Republican candidates running. I think the number might have been like 15 at the time, that after 5 candidates dropped out, and there were 22 to start. So I'm not really questioning that. Big money probably flowed into his campaign, and he was able to get up. I wasn't questioning whether or not. I was hoping that I'd be one of the two making the runoff. That was my goal, obviously. But this is the first campaign that I've run. I don't have a campaign structure yet. It was such a quick race and so short a time. I just concentrated on trying to build the infrastructure, the websites, get my policies ready, get all those things going before I had some individuals who wanted to volunteer, but I was like, there's only a couple of weeks left in the campaign. I can't work on trying to get volunteers off the ground right now. I got to focus on just doing events and speaking with the press and so forth. But we're ready to rock and roll for November. But I have some news on that. But I don't want to take up all the time here. But going back to Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm sorry. I mean, I like what she's saying about that there's corruption in the Republican Party as well as the Democratic Party. I think that's a very good message for the people of the United States to hear, because I believe it's very true. But trust has to be earned. I think there's ulterior motives with her. She'd have to prove me wrong, but I don't give trust away right away. I don't know what I will tell you. If you want some breaking news that maybe has not been talked about at all, because I'm on the FEC website. Because I registered with them, I had an alert on her campaign. She did a change in the last week where she formed a political action committee, and I can't remember the type of name. I think it's a leadership PAC.
Huh.
That was formed, and I guess she's taking the money, $700,000-800,000 she have, and moving it. It's now a leadership PAC. And from the research I did, that is usually done with people that are in Congress that want to make closer friends with their fellow congressmen and senators. So I think she's going to be throwing some money around to get some more people for whatever purposes.
Interesting. Geoff, you were going to say something.
Rob, what party are you running it with?
I'm running as an independent.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I'm half, if you look at my policies, I'm half libertarian. When it comes to the Constitution and freedom and personal rights. I'm not libertarian when it comes to that free reign for large corporations to do whatever the hell they want without regulation. I think that goes way too far. And I match the Green Party pretty much platform very closely as well. And I do have, I do believe in the Second Amendment. So especially with times with ICE acting the way they are and Homeland Security and everything, I think people are realizing that having some protection is warranted. I live in a very rural area, so I know the police are never going to get to me if there's a problem here. So I'm a gun carrier, but I only use it for security. I don't use it for hunting or sport or for fun, for entertainment.
Thank you.
Geoff, go ahead. What's the situation there? And I have to say of Geoff, I first got to know you when we had the honor of being put on the same Ukrainian kill list together. I guess maybe you spoke at a Schiller conference, but we got on the Center for Countering Disinformation hit list for telling the truth about the possibility of Ukraine defeating Russia in war, which is non-existent. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was August 2022, if I remember, and the Russia's special military operation against Ukraine and NATO began in February 2022. So what's going on in Kentucky? Well, we're a new party. 2024, we formed a new party called the Kentucky Party, and spent most of the summer drafting bylaws. Three of us drafted the bylaws, and our platform is incredibly short and simple. We are pro-peace, we are anti-corruption, and we have a focus on Kentucky. We're not a national party. So we've been doing really well. We got a lot of people running as Kentucky Party members. We have a person named Christopher Campbell running for Mitch McConnell's seat under the Kentucky Party. And we have Pete Lynch running for the U.S. House of Representatives in my part of Kentucky, Lexington and surrounding counties. And the incumbent, Andy Barr, a typical far right-wing Republican, is running for Senate. And so he wants to move up. And so Pete Lynch, I think, has a pretty good chance. I don't know if he can win. Of course, we don't have money, but whenever a Kentucky Party member is in an election, they're instantly the most qualified candidate. The Democrat and the Republicans are, their parties are, in my opinion, 100% corrupt, by which I mean they rigged their own primaries. And we saw that in full technicolor in 2024 when the Democrats rammed Joe Biden.
Right.
Genocide Joe Biden down the throats of every Democrat in America. And then, then they rammed Kamala Harris down the throats of every Democrat.
Which I have to say
is
amazing, because she wasn't on the primary ballot. So they had a candidate for whom nobody voted.
She got 0 votes in the primary, that's right.
Yeah.
And 99% evil.
Yeah.
Well, pro-war, pro-imperialism. So no one in America should be a member or should support any Democrat or any Republican for the rest of their lives. The parties are just in the pits. They're the worst ever. I mean, they were bad before, but they've just kept going downhill until now. I took a vow about 10 months ago. I was never going to vote for a Democrat or a Republican again as long as I live. That's my education.
Are the people of Kentucky, is it only sort of politically savvy and active people who are aware about this raging war by Trump against Massey, or
no, that's well known. Yeah, they have people in Kentucky. Everybody I've talked to is on Massey's side, and even the Republicans. There's a strong Tea Party movement in Kentucky, and the whole Tea Party is for Massey.
Right. Very interesting. Anastasia, go ahead if you have thoughts. This is my campaign manager, Anastasia Battle, appropriately named.
Well, I'm just thinking about the situation right now. I mean, we're getting quite a number of people. For instance, you just had this very awesome meeting on Monday with, we had Anthony Aguilar. The people know who he is. He was the whistleblower who exposed this disgusting policy of the so-called food humanitarian, where they were actually
Gaza Humanitarian Foundation.
Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, where they actually were shooting Palestinians as they were coming to eat to try to receive aid, and they were killing them like it was a game. And he documented this. It's actually quite an amazing story and how he got the the videos and everything. But he has been incredibly courageous. So we had him, Josephine Guilbeault, who's another former military person who stood up and has been speaking out against what's happening, Jose Vega, and Brian McGinnis, who was the former Marine who just got his arm broken by a senator, actually. There was multiple police, but the senator was the one who was pushing him, trying to get him out of the door, and ended up breaking his arm. The response we got, I mean, there were others who were on there, Garland Nixon, but the response we got from many alternative people who were just saying, I'm sick of the parties, I'm sick of all these things going on, what else do we do? I think there's a lot of potential right now, because people don't know where to go. They don't know how to organize, because they've never organized something new like this before. But I think we're in a revolutionary period where people, if we give them what they need, we give them the leadership, then they'll respond. I'm actually very excited about the potential of these candidates coming about right now.
There's a lot of them.
Yes.
I think, I don't know. I sent in for, were you able to look at that organization that Anita sent to you to look at?
A little bit.
Okay. Is that something we can address now or no?
Yes, go for it. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, when I first got involved and decided to run, it was a dream that I had, and it said I needed to run, not because it wasn't for political reasons, it wasn't for personal reasons. It was that I was going to meet people I needed to meet, and they were going to find me. And about maybe a month ago, I got a call from a gentleman out in California, and they contacted me because they're forming a new PAC, Political Action Committee, for independent and third-party candidates, so that we can organize together, or at least they can organize and raise funds for candidates across the country. And we launched it last week in Washington. There were 12 of us. They currently have 19 members. And as long as you're not one of the two major parties, you can get on board, and it's going to be a great way to get assistance with raising campaign funds on it. So that's definitely great. It's called independentcandidatenetwork.com. And everybody should go and check it out. And there's a lot of wonderful people, and it's the most diverse group I've ever seen. We were having fun about it because we were from all over the country, all colors, all sizes, all backgrounds, and it was very nice to see people even with different views, realizing that it's so important for us to put away the anger, the hate, the divisiveness, and sit down and talk and understand that we're stronger. The more people we have with creative ideas, the better we are. If we listen to one another, we can find out what the best solutions are, instead of one party saying they have the right solutions and the other party saying, no, they have the right solutions, and they're not getting anything done.
It's refreshing. In 2023, I went to this United Independence event in Austin, Texas, and it was very well funded. And I know that because I was sponsored to go. And I was trying to sort of figure out what was going on there. Tulsi Gabbard spoke, Kucinich. I was there. They put me on a panel on culture or something. But then during one of the lunch breaks, they were trying to get people to invest in high-tech startups. And at the end of each panel, they would have ChatGPT read a synopsis of the panel or recite what the panel was about. I'm proud to say in the panel I spoke on, a guy in the audience, which was on culture and music. And I'll tell you, AI cannot tell jokes, and they can't produce art. So a guy in the audience started yelling, no, we're not doing that. No, I was so happy. Kind of revolt. But I said, this smells. There's something going on. And what I realized is this billionaire, Brock Pierce, was underwriting the thing. And as soon as the Epstein files came out, I started, looking. Brock Pierce brags as being the person who introduced Howard Lutnick to Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know that that's true. I think Lutnick and Epstein probably knew each other a lot longer than Lutnick is admitting. But nonetheless, he's in this Epstein class, and he was the founder of Tether, which is the big Bitcoin operation going on. So what I think they were doing is they knew that the majority of the American people are running from the parties. Like Geoff expressed, people have had it, and they then want to bring in the money and capture the independent movement.
Right.
And it really alarmed me. It was so ugly and so blatant. And Brock was running around talking about how he'd run for president with Oprah Winfrey. And I thought, I'm worried about the country and the world.
Right.
I'm not worried about a Hollywood stunt. And I think people do things as a joke. It's not a joke. We're losing. Our republic has become the epitome of all the grievances we listed in the Declaration of Independence, why we left the British. We are now doing those.
Exactly.
Bother anybody, So when the whole Epstein, I really said, oh, okay, that's it. My gut sense about this thing was right on. Now I couldn't resist. I wanted to show this video that's come from the White House and ask everyone to comment on it, because we had been mentioning a little bit earlier about all the complaints coming in from people in the military that their leaders are telling them that this is God's war and Trump was anointed by Jesus. And that's a very dangerous situation, because it means that there is no rationality. When you have a president who can go on the air and say, well, I know the American people don't mind paying $1 million a gallon for gasoline because we are defeating an evil empire. And then you have all the bots on Truth Social saying, oh, yes, Donald, I'm so glad to pay $5 a gallon for gasoline. It's terrible. So I'm just going to show this because there's so much wrong with it. And I just wanted to have a little fun smashing it, and you'll probably enjoy that too. So here we go.
The President of the United States, U.S. Central Command commences Operation Epic Fury.
I'm gonna shoot you right down.
This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces.
He reminded the world, as he has time and time again, being an American means something unbreakable. If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Their war on Americans has become our retribution against their
Iran is run by lunatics, religious fanatic lunatics. They have an ambition to have nuclear weapons. They intend to develop those nuclear weapons behind a program of missiles and drones and terrorism that the world will not be able to touch them for fear of those things. This is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them. The president made the decision to go after them, take away their missiles, take away their navy, take away their drones, take away their ability to make those things so that they can never have a nuclear weapon.
Finally, to the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Boom, boom, boom.
Jesus.
Okay.
Oh, that was disgusting.
Yeah, Geoff.
When did they release that?
A couple days ago.
Okay, so after the war started.
Well, everything they said about Iran was 180 degrees false.
Right.
Iran is not divided. From the first hours of this war, when the administration assassinated the supreme religious leader of Iran, and
Religious leader.
his family. The Iranian people were enraged and unified, and they're determined to get revenge. And so all these predictions that Iran's government was decapitated and overthrown already on day 1 or 2 are false. And Iran is more united probably than it's ever been before.
I
I
agree.
don't see any way that Israel and the United States can possibly win this war that just started.
My concern is that they don't even care if they win the war. That commercial upset me deeply because he talks about how he wants the Iranian people to rise up and to take over this their leadership. At the same token, he's carpet bombing their cities where the resistance to that leadership is located. They're not touching the rural areas where there's more radicalization. They're hitting the people right where there was support before the war broke out. And there's no way that he's got that support anymore.
No, and everything they said. I mean, the thing that drove religious fanatics who want a nuclear bomb. Well, they're in the Pentagon. Hello, they're in the Pentagon. The religious fanatics.
Yes.
Nuclear bomb. And I watched the prayers. Pete Hegseth has brought a monthly prayer session into the Pentagon. And just for the record, I'm not an atheist. I consider myself a Christian, Quaker raised. But I think there is a scientific approach to religion, that there are certain universal principles, which is how people find their unity, the difference between a human being and an animal, or you want to say your relationship to the creator. And this prayer session, and I happened to watch the one that turned out to be very controversial on February 18th with a pastor named Doug Wilson, who talked about what was the guy's name? George Whitfield, who was with something called the Great Awakening in the 1740s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the purpose of the Great Awakening in the 1740s was to undermine Cotton Mather, Benjamin Franklin. It was a British operation to destroy the principles of creating a republic by turning everything into irrationality. Mm-hmm. So here's a pastor coming into the Pentagon using the names of the people who were deployed to undermine the principles of our republic. And if you take the difference between Cotton Mather, who wrote this whole little booklet called Essays to Do Good, saying that the reason we need more people and problems is every problem, every human being is an opportunity to do good. And he argued, he said, how come the people who want to do evil, they're so fanatical, they spend so many hours plotting on how to cover up what they're doing and how to carry out new evil deeds? He said, couldn't the good people at least be half as passionate? This is Cotton Mather, back in 1690 or whatever he was. And then you have these crazy people coming in who turn it all into an irrational. If I say the right magic words, no matter how many children I raped, I am going to heaven because I am saved and I am born again. And I can roll around in the aisles holding onto my crotch, and that means I'm getting raptured. I mean, it's horrible. And to bring that in to the Pentagon, that is, separation, of church and government and religion or whatever, church and state. But I just think it's very nasty. And I just found this thing, talk about religious fanatics. They are there in the Pentagon.
Yes.
I think a lot of the troops aren't buying it, and it's incredibly bad for morale to realize that the people at the top of your chain of command are insane.
You think?
Well, I'm convinced that all the accidents that keep happening on the USS Ford are people in the military are like, well, just
Yeah.
shove those clocks down the toilet. Let's light the laundry room on fire.
Yeah.
Let's do whatever we have to keep this thing at port and not bring Armageddon about. I mean, I think there are people who are saying right now, I can't believe we're actually about to do this.
I believe that they know I believe that they know they're losing the people very rapidly in the country. There was news report and a video that was actually addressing to Hegseth, and I believe it was Hegseth and the president, about a memo that just came out where they're calling for the memo was saying that they're calling for all 50 states, the National Guard, to be called up in all 50 states in April. So, and they're going to be trained specifically for crowd control and civil disobedience. And they're talking about a draft. A draft is going to ignite, is going to be another ignition in the country.
Mm-hmm.
You heard this?
They're getting, what was that?
You just heard this?
Yeah. Yeah. And they know they're going to have to clamp down. And it's going to be noticeable by a lot more people when that happens.
I think they plan for a lot of different contingencies, but that is definitely one of the plans that they're working over.
Yeah. And that, going back to that video though that they did,
Yeah.
boy, we don't even have to rely on advertisements on Fox anymore. We have our own propaganda professional media channel coming right out of the White House.
Exactly. I could use that without copyright. It's whitehouse.gov. It's right.
Yeah, it's the production level. I wonder if that's associated with what was the scandal with all the money being spent on Christy Nolan?
Yep.
With I wonder if that's the same media company doing it for them.
$200 million.
Yeah.
For that stupid
And you
little
know, I forget which, I don't know if you remember, Anastasia, one of the Catholic bishops wrote this very impassioned letter saying that you are turning killing into a video game when real families are suffering enormous loss, and you're just making, I mean, that is the really kind of sick. What I'm concerned about also, and I think that our independent candidates, we also have to, I think, give people an image of the future. Because it's true, this is a dying empire. It's failed. Colonialism is over. They're not going to put, 6 billion people back in the bag. They're not going back to slavery. There's no one in Africa saying, gee, I wish the Belgians would come back here and colonize us. There is nobody saying that. So what should our relationship be? And could we actually organize a recovery? I mean, and because I think an economic recovery in a way would also shift the level of optimism, and people would suddenly be motivated. Like you hear people go, I can't find anyone to work. Well, maybe everyone didn't want to grow up to work at McDonald's. We don't have jobs where we're building big water management infrastructure or really exciting bridges or new cities or things where people have a sense that they're actually contributing to the future.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is also something very.
They privatized all the big stuff. The government
Well,
doesn't do it anymore.
China, Russia, and many other countries are showing a path to development that involves the whole population, and they are building big things. And their people are responding very well to it, and they feel they have a mission to defend their sovereignty from the United States and NATO and our other allies in Asia Pacific, and so they're doing it. They're doing exactly what you just suggested.
Yeah, there's plenty of projects for us to do, and they don't need to be the private industry doing it. I mean, housing itself is something that we could have a job corps just doing to build more housing but I just watched a video about that on a Perfect Union on YouTube that's explaining how the top builders they've worked it out where they just got a captured market. And they're not just builders; they're the financing companies. They do everything regarding it. They capture all of it, and they're restricting on purpose. They're purposely building less homes so they can control the price and keep the prices higher.
Yeah, people would say, "Do you want a smaller government?" I would say, "Well, smaller, yes, but stronger. We need a stronger government because we're not reining in all these monopolies. I mean, everything seems to be owned by, 4 people.
Everything.
Larry and David.
Everything. Every day I hear of another industry that's corrupted is only had 3 or 4 companies controlling it. Or where's the Federal Trade Commission? Where's the Federal Trade Commission?
Yeah, FDR said, I'm going to have a strong government because we're going to protect the freedom of the small businessman. Who's going to protect the freedom of the little hardware store on the corner or the barbershop or whatever, and it is astounding to me how many things, and no one's screaming, bloody murder here. Whatever. What are the Ellisons?
We should be screaming bloody murder because the fact is, a lot of people can understand like the military-industrial complex is corrupt because it's a small group and they make billions and billions of dollars. But they're doing the same thing in other industries, and they could be using that money to help small businesses thrive in these communities that are completely neglected. My district has so many places that have been so left out of the equation for so many decades, and the people still here vote for their own demise.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Sorry, I'm getting emotional here.
No, that's all right. That's all right. It's I think that the Kentucky Party offers a blueprint for any state. There could be, a New York party, a California party, Kansas party. And our bylaws are like 7 pages. Our platform is 1 sentence. I think that's a problem with the Green Party. Their platform is like 90 pages long. And everyone who starts reading it can immediately find several things they strongly disagree with, and they stop reading and dismiss the Green Party forever. And the platform of the Democratic and Republican Party, no one even knows what they're saying because nobody reads them. And once the candidates get elected, they put their platform on the shelf and never refer to it. So I've noticed this year how boring all of the Democratic candidates in Kentucky are. They refuse to talk about any issue at all. They talk about democratic values, and other things that no one knows what they mean. Very vague, and they're constantly asking for money. And they basically have no ideas, except, like more Democrats. And over the decades, the Republicans have pretty much taken over this Commonwealth, this state. They have 80 out of the 100 members of the Kentucky House of Representatives and 80% of the state senators. And so the Democrats can't get anything done. I went to a potluck last night of Tea Party type people, and they were all praising Thomas Massie and trying to defend him against Trump's attacks. And when I said, the Democrats can't get anything done because they're only 20%, tiny minority, one of them said, well, the Republicans in Frankfurt can't get anything done either. And I said, okay, nobody can get anything done. I mean, that's because I don't know why, maybe personality conflicts within the Republican Party. That's one reason they can't get anything done. But I thought it was funny.
Now, one thing I'd like each of you to address as candidates, we hear this often that, well, why are you running independent? You're taking votes away from one of these other people. What do you say to that?
For my case, I looked at the Democratic Party seriously. That this was back in April, and I spent a lot of time with the local people in the Democratic Party in the different counties near me. And my message resonated very well with the Democratic people on the local basis. But I knew that I have policies that go totally against what the power structure in the parties up in Washington would want. And I also knew that I would be neglected. I wouldn't be given any time or notice because they had already had a candidate that had run last time and was already had $2 million in his coffers.
Mm.
But since I decided to run independent, I really have had an awakening, even more so on the Democratic Party than I even thought I would. I really dove in deep with research across the board with all the administrations going back to Reagan. Mm-hmm. And they're just as responsible for the situation that we're in right now. When we talk about corporate control and the banking industry and all these other industries, they pushed through bills that the presidents did and Congress voted on it that has made our country less democratic. Both of them. So like you were saying, somebody asked me, a friend of mine asked me after the special election was over and we're in a runoff situation. And my friend said to me, he's a Republican, he goes, well, who are you going to vote for now? Or, which one are you going to vote for? And I thought about it and I was like, well, I know I'm not going to vote for the Republican candidate. And I do have a lot of respect for the Democratic candidate. I mean, I've met him multiple times. I think he's a great person. But I've also heard things lately. It's like, well, I truly believe that the Democratic Party is not repairable from the inside. I don't think anyone could get in there and change it. No,
you're not allowed to. I mean, look,
they infected.
They destroyed the candidates they had. Bernie Sanders, I never trusted. And frankly, I think he cut a deal because why would you endorse Hillary Clinton after you had proof she stole the primary from you? But he was someone, if they had wanted to, and had he been real, two big ifs, he mobilized millions of young people. He brought life to the nation and people having a sense they could have a voice in politics. Yep. Tulsi Gabbard was another one like that who was just bludgeoned out and accused of being a Russian agent. So they aren't interested actually in winning votes. They're interested in their policy getting through by hook or by crook, and mostly by crook.
Yeah, I feel more like they're saying it because then we hear those words and we feel, oh, they represent me, but they're never a choice. Or they don't have the power to really do it, or they know they don't have the power to do it on their own. There's not enough. That's why that independent candidate network, the goal is very much, I don't know if you guys heard Elon Musk say maybe 4 or 5 months ago, or maybe even longer than that he wanted to start a third party.
Yes.
And get like 8 or 12 people elected, so then he could have control where nobody would have a majority.
Right.
That's the entire plan of the independent candidate network, that we get 12 people in this November, and then neither party will be in control. They'll have to listen to the people that are looking out for the people of this country.
Right.
Be the swing group in the center that can tip the balance.
Exactly.
It's not a bad idea.
You don't have to be another third major party. You just have to have enough that neither of the other parties control it. And you have to be unified, that we have people that are good people that are not going to sell out.
Right.
And I trust the people I was with up in Washington.
Yeah, good.
They're good people.
That's great.
So Geoff,
I went to the Kentucky House in 2014, 2016, 2018, 2020. as those first three as a Democrat. 2020, because the Democrats obviously violated Kentucky's campaign laws. I ran as a Republican in 2020, and they rigged it in exactly the same way. They just give all the resources, all of the attention to their favorite candidate, and challengers don't even exist. 2022, I went back to the Democratic Party for the U.S. House of Representatives, the primary, and I actually won it because, like 52 to 48% in Andy Barr's district and, Lexington, surrounding counties. And the Kentucky Democratic Party found a write-in guy, write-in Democrat.
Wow.
Who got 5% of the total in November. A few days after I won the primary, a reporter asked the governor, Andy Beshear, Democrat, Geoff Young won his primary. Are you going to support him? And the governor said, no. Geoff Young has problems, implying that I had some kind of mental illness. He yelled an insult to me as I was walking with my 14-year-old son into a meeting. And I hope he gets help. So he supported this write-in guy. And so the entire Kentucky Democratic Party ended up working for the incumbent Andy Barr, Republican, to get him reelected. And I did pretty well anyway, despite all that. I got 35% of the vote in the general election. And the norm for a generic Democrat in that district over the years has been 40%. So that 5%, I did as well as any other Democrat, except Amy McGrath. You've heard of her. She ran for U.S. House in 2020, and I was one of her 5 opponents. But she just spent millions and millions of dollars, which she got from the national contributions, national Democratic parties in various states. And she's a CIA Democrat. The World Socialist website, WSWS.com, came up with that term, CIA Democrat. I think it was in 2018 when they came up with that. She wasn't CIA, but she was an Air Force lieutenant colonel, took part in the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. And her whole campaign was, how she flew in a fighter jet in Afghanistan and Iraq. That's her whole thing. And she was a mom. I flew in a jet, and I helped defend the United States against terrorists. She lost, even though she outspent Andy Barr in 2020. She spent $9 million in 2020 and couldn't win. So, yeah, the Democratic Party is hopeless.
I also will say, and it's a topic for another time, we should wrap up shortly here, but there is massive election fraud, and I got to watch it in both of my races in New York. And also, they steal the election before the election in terms of ballot access for independent candidates.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What they did in New York, as people know, or I've spoken of it, is they tripled the signature requirement from 15,000 to 45,000 ballot signatures in 6 weeks, which is one of the shortest petitioning seasons that you have. I'm still the only person who's done it twice now with volunteers, because you can't pay people. And New York also really and here's
you're not allowed to pay people either.
You can, but not per signature. You have to pay them per hour. So they just rip you off. We met people who were petitioning for others who would get 10 signatures in a day and be making $200 a day for nothing.
Could I ask you a technical question, Diane?
Yeah.
I've had multiple people tell me this, and I don't know if it's true or not true. But in Georgia, and I guess in other states, the sheets that they have have 10 signatures per sheet is what they do in Georgia. And I think it's over in California or Arizona.
Mhm.
I was told by multiple sources that if they strike one of the signatures on the sheet, they throw the whole sheet.
What?
No, not in New York, but it depends, right? If there are things that they call fatal errors because there's a witness box. It used to be the case that you had to get every single sheet notarized.
Oh, in Georgia, I was told that I had the Libertarian running for my in my special election, who's actually going for the signatures for November.
Yeah.
They have to have it notarized on every page. Just so you know, I was not able to. I decided not to try to do the write-in because I only had till July to get about 45,000 signatures.
No, it's ridiculous. It's
So
absurd.
I'm a write-in candidate, and I'm running a write-in candidate campaign for this November.
Just to give a sense, I was reading in Ballot Access News, which I recommend people look up. Richard Winger is an old ballot access warrior for about the last 60 years. So he covers how they're changing the law. In the state of New Mexico, they've made a law since the Congress is Democrat Republican, it's set up in a partisan way, that if you're with even though New Mexico has a number of minor parties that have ballot status, you're not allowed to run for Congress in a minor party. You have to, that's right.
Really?
Yeah, even though they have ballot status, you're not allowed to, and then you have to get 14,000 signatures.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so what happened is
my state's rated the worst.
Well, somehow, and this just shows how it all works, right? The Republican, a guy was trying to run in the Republican primary. Republican Party does have a line, but he couldn't get the signatures, and I guess there was no opposition. So in November, they will have what they want, which is the incumbent U.S. Senator Democrat is the only candidate on the ballot. And in the state of New York, the statewide petitioning was so onerous that New York was the only state out of 50 where you had only 2 presidential candidates, Democrat and Republican, and no one else.
Wow.
And people don't realize that and New York has done something unbelievably criminal. I don't know that any state has this. They have matching funds. And it gets worse than you can imagine. The reason they tripled the signature requirement is they said, we don't want quote unquote frivolous candidates to get state matching funds.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're running for federal office, you don't get state matching funds anyway. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, they tripled the signatures. Do you know what the matching funds ratio is for municipal offices in New York? 8-1.
Oh my God.
$250, and that's $2,000. $2,000 for 250. And guess what? This will come as a great shock. Therefore, everyone commits fraud, because if you want to give a candidate $1,000, it's better if you give each of your friends $250, because each 250 is going to be 2,000. Whereas if you give 1,000, they only match the first 250. So this is what Mayor Adams, they were going after him for. And I ran into it, and I had to tell people I had to give them back the money, because I spoke at one organization and they said, oh, we'll raise money for you. We know how to do it. And they gave me cash, and you can only take, as a federal candidate, you probably know, only up to $100 cash from any one person. And then they gave me this whole list of names of who had allegedly given the money, thinking that I was going to get matching funds. And I said, no, I'm giving you back money. I'm not going to be, it's so corrupt. And then I just learned from a friend who's running for state legislature that he's getting 12-1 matching funds.
So you mean 12 from the state and 1 from individual small donors?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's a way to take a good idea and turn it into corruption.
Wow.
They're really good at that.
Yeah, and the voters, like, I'm paying through the nose, taxes here, property and state taxes. Do I really want to give some schmuck that amount of money to run for office, And of course, that's why Cuomo said we're going to triple the signature requirement, because we're going to protect New Yorkers from having to give matching funds to frivolous candidates. And they literally defined frivolous in a private meeting. It's not in their official written records, but if you get the notes of their meetings, their minutes, if you have a view that differs from what they have determined the majority view is.
My God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess there's no limit to the number of corrupt or crooked ideas that people can come up with.
Right.
So
But the
I
voters,
thought I had seen it all, but I mean, just on this video, I've heard some new ones.
the thing that I find criminal so bad is the voters don't know.
Right.
Right.
That's why being a write-in candidate, I'm going to make it something that I'm talking about with almost everybody. Why am I a write-in candidate?
Right. And Georgia is another one, like what you said, the signature requirements in Georgia for independents are insane.
5% of just registered voters in my district. And every sheet's got to be notarized. That's a cost. And then $5,220 non-refundable. Whether you get the signatures or not, you got to pay out of pocket.
Wow.
And I had just paid $5,220 out of my pocket to get on the special election because that got me on the ballot.
Right. Yeah. No, this is what, and so we're running around the world, and no wonder we think Israel and Ukraine are such great democracies, because they have a similar democratic process to what we have, apparently, in the United States. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's another whole time. The ballot access is a long one.
Mm-hmm.
We could do a whole video on that.
Yeah, exactly. So probably we should wrap up. I'm so glad to have had you both on. I hope we're going to be working together a lot in the future. I think we really have to work together and create this kind of a collegiality in the nation of people who have, I'm sure that all of us have some substantial disagreements with one another, but not intent, and the dialogue is frankly the most interesting part.
Yeah,
so.
and we need to make it clear. I said it at one of my events. I said, I'm just an average guy. I'm not a politician here. And my biggest fear was public speaking before I got into this. If I can run for office, anybody hearing my voice right now can run for office. Mm-hmm. And we need to be able to support those people that want to do it.
Right. That's the purpose of the Kentucky Party. We're not interested in forcing any ideological framework on anyone except pro-peace and anti-corruption. That's it. We're not going to police our candidates for things that they say.
Wow, that's very radical of you.
Well, independent candidate network, like I said, to join it, it's very, very few things that we because we are from the whole spectrum. There's people that have run as Republicans, as independents. There's a libertarian. I'm sure there'll be a green pretty soon.
Right.
Like I said, I have a lot of viewpoints with the Green Party, but I did not read 90 pages of Green Party policy, so I better go back and read some more then before I start saying that. But the major things I'm for.
Great. Anastasia, any thoughts here?
No, I think this was delightful. I think that we can build a real candidates movement around the country. I think the potential is there.
It is.
I think there's enough people who are saying that we need to move on this now. And it couldn't come in a moment too soon. I mean, this video, I'm so glad I read about this video, Diane, and didn't watch it because I think I would have thrown up. seeing
Ugh.
it. Oh my God.
It's really worse than you can imagine.
Totally.
It's just, I'm,
There's another person doing the same thing. Cynthia Pooler. Have you all talked with
Yes.
her? Okay, yeah, she's should be able to work with you all.
yes,
Okay.
we just had a conference call with her today, actually.
Great.
And I would like to invite both of you, if you're available Monday night at 8. We're going to have another big webcast. And this time, I really want to make a point of at least letting people show their face and say who they are for 30 seconds, because we did have a number of candidates on last Monday, and it was a huge call with Tony Aguilar and Garland Nixon and others. So, and I know you were
Can I
preparing.
add something really quick before we go off
Sure.
about that
Yes.
video? I saw that video, and yes, how disgusting it was. But it also, for me, my sense is it reeks of desperation. And I'm a big Star Wars fan, and it reminds me of a line in there: the tighter they grip, the more star systems will slip through their fingers. Well, I think the tighter they grip, the more people are going to slip out of it through their fingers.
They're strangling people.
People are seeing it. Things are going to get rough, and people are not going to. They're going to wake up. They are really going to wake up.
Yes, yes. And they need leadership. And I think we've got to pull that together, this independent movement. That's what we're doing. So I really want to thank you both.
I want to thank you too. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And we'll all see each other again very soon.
Great, thank you.
Bye, Diane. Bye, Anastasia.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have fun. Cause trouble.